So, I finally watched the Super Mario Bros. Movie, and it was alright. The story and jokes were serviceable, but I found the characters very one-dimensional and the whole experience not memorable. It's an enjoyable one-time viewing, but I'm not interested in watching it again. But there was one aspect of the film that I thought was infuriating, the inclusion of licensed music. I'm not talking about the instrumental score that included songs for the franchise. I expected that, it's a Mario Bros. Movie. The music I'm referring to is the licensed pop songs that were added. These took me out of the film every time they started. I've heard the defense online that other films have included pre-written songs in their soundtrack, but Mario Bros. Fails to understand why those cases worked. Today, I want to outline how pop songs fundamentally wouldn't work in a Mario Bros. Soundtrack, and why other franchises can use similar pop songs and exceed. So the biggest issue pertaining to the pop songs is how it doesn't work with the tone of the film. Unlike his edgier competitors, Mario's universe is bound in fantasy, with the one exception being New Donk City. There have been lyrical songs in the games, but those have jazz instrumentals. I find with these jazz soundtracks, they make it feel more timeless and just incorporate better overall into the tone of the games. As for the film, the songs being used are retro top 10s, and their only connection to the franchise is that they were released sometime during the same decade as the first Mario game. For context, here are the scenes and their respective songs. One of the first scenes includes the song Battle Without Honor or Humanity. It's an instrumental score best known for being used in the Kill Bill soundtrack. This is played in the opening scene when the penguins are defending their kingdom. No Sleep Till Brooklyn by the Beastie Boys is background while Mario goes through an homage to the game levels. Carmen WD-31, a bunch of French words that I'm not gonna pretend that I know how to pronounce. That's being played while the bathroom the brothers are working on is destroyed. Holding Out for a Hero by Bonnie Tyler is used for a training montage. Take On Me introduces the Kong Kingdom. Thunderstruck by AC/DC is set to the gang making their go-karts. And Mr. Blue Sky plays at the end as Mario's alarm clock. When looking at the context of these songs being used, Beastie Boys and Battle Without Honor are the only two that work. And the reason why I'm saying that has to do with very surface level reasons. For No Sleep, Mario and Luigi are in the real world, so a pop song could fit the setting, and the place they're running through is in Brooklyn. Very meaningful analysis, I know. Battle Without Honor Humanity is even more basic. I'm just including it because action film music. It didn't have much of an uphill battle to climb. See how I'm using very simple connections? These work because they're not directly clashing with the setting, which unfortunately, a lot of the soundtrack does. The worst example is Take On Me. I'll get to plot relevance later, but it's played over Mario and Peach being shown around Kong Island, and it doesn't fit with its setting at all. During the drive sequence, the Kongs are established as a bronze society that specializes in machinery. How does Aha relay this? Then the inclusion of the song becomes insulting when you realize the film's composer, Brian Tyler, had an instrumental piece called Driving Me Bananas made for the scene. It included several motifs of the Kong levels from the games, but the studio decided to use Take On Me instead. This change would have had to been very last minute, because the original soundtrack still includes the piece. To me, this shows that tone wasn't the focus when deciding what songs to use. Another problem is the lyrical connection these songs have to the scenes they're in, or more accurately, lack thereof. You either have cases like No Sleep, which I already pointed out is extremely obvious in their lyrical relevance, or Take On Me, where there is absolutely none. Now, I've been pointing all the faults in the soundtrack up to this point, so now is a good time to use some positive examples. For this, let's use Bonnie Tyler's Holding Out for a Hero. In this scene, Mario needs to finish a game course so that he can go with Peach to the Kong Island. He's not rescuing anyone. If anything, he's the one that needs help because he's failing so miserably at this challenge. An animated film that uses Bonnie's lyrics well is Shrek 2. In the lyrical relevance in this film, Fairy Godmother is singing Holding Out for a Hero during a wedding recital, so it's supposed to be kind of just like a generic love song, but also works thematically because Fiona is in danger and she needs a hero. Shrek. This also fits my previous criticism earlier of tonal relevance, because the Shrek universe is known for its pop songs, so it makes sense why a character would break into one. Now, it's worth noting that a song doesn't have to have a one-on-one connection to what's happening in the scene for it to fit, but I feel like if you're going to use a lyric-heavy song, the creative team should have a reason why it's in the scene. With all the pop songs in the film, they could be traded out for any other 80s rock and it wouldn't change the scene. Wow, if only there was another film that came out this year that used 80s songs in its soundtrack and starred Chris Pratt. That'd be really cool. I could use that as a positive example. Oh wow, what a coincidence. When going into a film, outside expectations are always going to affect the viewing experience. People go into a Mario film prepared to listen to Mario music. That's not a surprise. But when you're watching this film, and then suddenly AC/DC starts playing, your brain goes, wait a minute, this doesn't fit, why is that there? When you go into a Guardians of the Galaxy film, you expect licensed old songs. Mr. Blue Sky and No Sleep Till Brooklyn could just be instrumentals, but they fit with the world that James Gunn has created for the Guardians. They help set the tone of the film, and they're also important to the character of Peter Quill. Pop songs is what connects him to his dead mother. Pop music isn't a part of the Mario franchise, never has been, and the script didn't make any changes so that it would be. During this whole video, I've been talking about Mario as a franchise and how it doesn't fit the popular trend of licensed song editions. So why were the songs included? Illumination, which made the film, always manages to add a lengthy list of songs to their soundtrack. This comes from either hiring a well-known artist to create the soundtrack or just buying the top 40s at the time. Hey, fun fact! While looking into the soundtrack for the Mario Brothers movie, I found out that 12 of Sing's $75 million budget just went to the pop songs. Now, I don't have access to Illumination headquarters, but I'm guessing the thought process behind this doesn't go much deeper than they want to be able to sell a soundtrack. And Mario's already associated with 80s nostalgia, so why not just throw some 80s songs into the mix? Whee! But I want a song to not feel like it's an afterthought, which is my biggest gripe with the Mario Brothers film. If these songs were included for artistic decision, then Driving Me Bananas would still be in the film. These tracks are just for an audience member to say, hey, I remember that. I get that Illumination isn't like exactly the most artistically inspired company, but this is Mario. Like, it has one of the most famous soundtracks of any video game. What's funny is that for the official soundtrack for this movie, they don't include the licensed songs. They just have the instrumental soundtrack. So it wasn't like they wanted to sell the soundtrack for this film. Why were these included? I don't understand. So what did we learn today? Pop music works best when it fits tonally and lyrically with the scene it's playing in, or at least have the IP not clash with the song being used. That's all I got to say for today. Thanks for watching.